about home. They're married to real estate.
Hey guys, welcome to the podcast for people who love real estate and want to become inspired and informed. Whether you are a newbie real estate agent looking to get tips and learn a thing or two, or maybe you are a savvy property owner who wants to get a jump on the market, this is the place for you. We discuss our passion for real estate and people, and we bring together our personal experiences as well as our guests to learn from each other. You'll hear from experts in sales coaching, real estate law, mortgage lending, investing, and many local business owners on how to grow your business or your investment in real estate. I'm Mary Elliott.
I'm Mary Forster.
And I'm Mary McCauley.
And we are Married to Real Estate.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to Married to Real Estate, Episode 3. Thank you for joining us again. Today, I'm your host, and we are talking about coming from service. So it was really interesting deciding on this topic and thinking about service. As many of you know, I do a lot of charity events and give a lot of myself, and I like coming from service. But when I Googled it, it was really interesting because there was no definition of sort of that phrase. And I thought, is that something that we do in Keller Williams?
Yeah.
You know, is it something that just, I don't know, has come about organically? I'm not really sure.
Yeah.
So when I did Google it, the definition kind of, changed a little bit to a service mindset, which I think is what we're talking about ultimately.
Yeah.
And so one of the things, definition that I looked up from azcentral.com is a service mindset is an outlook that focuses on creating customer value, loyalty, and trust. A business with this outlook wants to go beyond simply providing a product or service. To do this, a business has to care about the customer or prospect experience and work continuously at enhancing it.
I love that. I love it's beyond the product. Like, that's not what it's about. It's not about selling a product. It's about the service or the experience of the customer, which is a service that you're providing. And I love that. I love that it's not just about the thing you're actually buying.
So we're talking about service in a couple of ways. We're talking about service to give back, like you've been describing, and you do a lot of work in service, and as does Mary. And then the whole service orientation toward our community in terms of our business. Many of us are in service industries, and so we have adapted, I think, really well to a very smart, educated audience, clientele, who would love to have an A++ experience with anybody providing them a service, but unfortunately who doesn't experience that a whole lot. So I hear us talking about two things right now, service and service.
Yeah, so I know the three of us were in a business planning clinic in our office this week, and it got me thinking, and I mentioned this to you both, about the customer experience, that I don't want my business to be just transaction and these are the steps. I want it to be a whole, all-encompassing, really come from that place. And I think you ladies feel the same.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the reward, right? The reward is the gratitude, the appreciation, the relaxation, the satisfaction of our clients, and we are all by nature very, very client oriented. And I'm so glad to hear you say that. I cannot tell you how glad I am to hear you say
You said
that.
that the first time too. Every time you say experience, Mary Forster puts her hands in the air, her says, yes.
It's her core self, that's I think where Mary Forster comes from a lot, just in everything. And so when she sees other people doing it, it's exciting to her. And yeah, I do totally agree. In our profession, especially, services maybe what even draws us to this job, because it's something we're naturally good at, or we are drawn to doing naturally.
Well, and I like that you say drawn, because like I said, there was no definition of coming from a place of service in that sense. And
it's
I just
so
thought,
strange.
Right?
Yeah.
So, to label something that you were naturally drawn to was very interesting.
You'd think it would be taught in medical school or nursing school or something. That phrase should be sort of in every industry.
Well, it did come up when I Googled it. In nursing or at hospitals, there is a POS code.
Yes.
So I'm not really sure what that is. And I thought that was so interesting. I'm like, oh, all right. Well, that's not what we're talking about.
No, it's not
something
that.
else.
Yeah.
And, you nurses and medical professionals out there,
You have
can,
shorthand for everything
Yeah,
out
you can
there.
let us know exactly what that was because I really didn't dive deeply into that.
Mm-hmm.
So what else are your thoughts about
Well,
this?
my thought is we're going to have Kevin Willett here in a couple of weeks, maybe, I think maybe in December. And he's teaching at the University of Massachusetts in Lowell now, entrepreneurship. And my guess is that there's probably a whole orientation to providing excellent customer service as part of that whole world
In
of growing a
teaching that,
business.
yeah.
Right. So let's quiz him when we see him.
Yeah,
Definitely.
yeah. That's interesting. It'll be pretty interesting, I think, to see in all of our guests in their successes how they're orienting towards service and what people really are valuing the most, how their customers respond best to them, what that service is for them. Like, for example, Pete Smith will have on, and he provided a very high level of attorneying as showing up at the hospital.
Before delivery.
Correct. Media event.
Right.
Yes.
Yes. So, like that type of thing, and how does that show up in your everyday life? Does it bleed into your personal life?
Well, and then service, the word service. So it was very funny. As you guys know, they did an article in the Westford Neighbors magazine, that's a local magazine, about me. And I was out at Paul's Diner here in Westford, and one of the waitresses who I know, she used to coach my daughter in soccer years ago, she was like, Mary, that article is so great and everything you do. Thank you for your service. And I thought, wait a minute. That's like seems reserved for military people to me.
Right.
Right? And I thought that's such an interesting word. And I was like,
Yeah.
geez, that's not really...
That's not what I'm doing.
Right. Am I
I'm
doing
just kind
that?
of helping
I'm just,
people,
Yeah, I'm doing
but
something I feel like from my heart. I didn't feel like it was like service. Sounded
It's-
it made me pause.
it's kind of nice to hear it through somebody else's eyes, though. I mean, because
True.
it is, and that person may feel like you're serving a community that's personal to her, so that might be your service to her.
Right. And it was just the word. The sentiment was beautiful. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
And Kate, I love you. But it was just the idea that thank you for your service, because I do something with veterans and I love vets, and I always make it a point to seek them out. They have their hat on, or
Right.
and I always say, thank you for your service. And I mean that,
Yeah.
the service to our country, to my freedom, to I feel that very passionately. And I just thought, wow, I don't do what that.
I'm
those
not in that
people,
category.
That woman
Yeah.
that served in the armed forces does,
I know.
or that man.
Yeah.
But you do provide a service, and you step out of yourself and out of your home and out of your job, and you make sure that you reach out to vulnerable populations, and you bring others with you, and you model it. And so I think what a beautiful statement,
Yeah.
a really beautiful statement.
Yeah, I just thought it was interesting because it just kind of stuck with me, and I was like, oh, I don't know.
Yeah, I think you should start to try and embrace that idea, actually, because it's true. If just as Mary said, you reach out to vulnerable populations. Essentially, I'm sure there'll be plenty of arguments on this, but that's what the military does too, and that's what we're thanking them for. They're protecting us, their vulnerable population. They're going into other countries and trying to protect those vulnerable populations. So it's the same thing, different scale, same thing. And you individually can be very impactful in a smaller scale. Then I don't see why it makes it different. You're just as much of a hero, Mary.
Well, that's goofy. So I love you, Mary.
Mary. Tell us what your favorite volunteer activities are. What is it? What's it warms you up, girl?
Well, that's a hard one. I think my favorite one, and we only got to do it once, was the Pasta for Patriots. It was free dinners for veterans, and just stepping into their world. I have, some uncles and that have served, but I don't. It's not my kids. It wasn't my father, or mother, or anything
Right.
like that. So, but I do. I do feel for veterans, and I did want to give back in some way. And so, it had come from, some of the local restaurants on Veterans Day will give a free lunch to veterans, but not their spouse. So, who are they going to go out to lunch with if they still
Yeah.
have their spouse? So, it was nice. It's nice. Don't get me wrong, but it was just a little bit, they're on a budget, and so I thought, well, all right. How about some free dinners? How about around Veterans Day? Maybe you can't go to 5 different restaurants for lunch on Veterans Day, and they should be celebrated more than just one day. So we did 4 dinners for free for vets and their families, and the response was amazing, and the stories were amazing, and we had the elementary schools, local Westford Robinson and Crisafulli and the Bynum School in Chelmsford. The kids wrote thank you cards to the veterans, and those had to have been the most stinking cute things I've ever seen in my
Tearjerkers,
life.
I'm sure.
Right?
Oh my gosh.
And then we had Sandy Rainey and her rock painting group. They painted a bunch of rocks, and the vets loved those. Took them home, put them on desks of friends at work,
So
and
sweet.
they were all very patriotic. And it was just a really, really good time. We had little pins, that I'm a veteran, and like a little American flag, in sort of that ribbon, for breast cancer. And it was just talk about warm and fuzzies.
Yeah, that's all I was just gonna say.
Right?
That's such a warm and fuzzy night. Like everybody's
Yeah.
just these cute little rocks. People are painting them. That experience, I'm sure, of them painting
Well,
the
they
rocks
brought
was
them.
warm.
Yeah, right. That
you know?
group that did it. Yeah, it
Yeah.
was so nice that they donated that, and everyone donated, and everyone. You said, "Oh, it's for veterans," and people were like, "Yep,
Yeah,
sign
I'm
me up,
in."
whatever you
Mhm.
want." So the dinners were paid for by professional partners, financial advisors, attorneys, lenders.
Nice.
In my world, in my work world.
Yep.
And it was just really special.
Yeah, that's a great thing.
Yesterday, I was at the Westford Rotary, and there's a new Rotary member who came in from another Rotary, and she was announcing that Ayer, Bull Run Rotary, had just donated 110 pairs of pajamas to the Department for Children and Families.
Nice.
Wow.
And our Rotary collected winter coats. They're collecting new winter coats right now for babies all the way up to adults, because I think they serve an older, like a early 20s community as well.
Yep.
And I was so touched, I remember being a kid, no money in the house, pajamas were the Christmas present, and just I just teared up, and Patty Mason was there, and she had been at the big event where the kids come through to pick up their coats, and she said she cried the whole evening. It was just so touching to see people so appreciative, and especially in this time where it feels like we're sinking in, we're hiding still, we're afraid, we're being told to be afraid, to use these opportunities to reach out and touch people.
And connect.
And how do you guys feel about supporting many different causes? Because for me, the Derby Party, and that's for they give organic produce to food pantries, Penn Street Inn, Westford Food Pantry, and Loaves and Fishes.
Yep.
So and they were the first to do 100% organically grown produce and
Wow.
give it to shelters.
That's amazing.
And food pantries. So that one, and then I was like, well, that's good, and that event supports them, and then I have a veterans event that supports them, and then I'm doing something at Christmas time, and for kids, and I thought, it's a great opportunity to donate like hats and gloves or socks. I hadn't thought about coats.
Yeah.
So that's going to be another one.
I feel like it's a good thing. The more things you do that you feel called to do, I think that's what you should do. I don't think if your question's coming from, does it water it down? Does it sort of cheapen your charity efforts on one avenue if you're spreading the love? No.
Okay.
No.
Yeah, because I sort of struggle with that. I mean, I also, on the board of Live for Live Against Domestic Violence, and so we do fundraising for that. But and I was like, oh, do I do this Christmas thing? And then I was like, I don't know. I feel like it's its own little event. It's its own little thing.
It is. And I think the idea is do what you're called to, right? And if those things are the ones that are calling to you, you want to do those, your authenticity of heart in that is just going to show through. It's not you putting, on a calendar, all right, I've got to get 12 charity events in this year, and which one is it going to be? It's going to be puppies this week, and the Save the Frogs the next week.
Right. Well, I mean, there are so many.
There
That's
are,
the thing.
yeah.
I mean, I'd like to do something with the elderly, and I'd like to do something with animals.
Yeah.
The world's
So,
right at your feet, Mary.
More's to come,
There's
I guess.
so much to be saved out there.
Right.
Yeah,
The
there
DCF
is.
directors both went up to Patty Mason and said, "You would not believe how important this is to the children to receive a new coat.
Well, when
Just
that does
one
make me
moment in
cry.
time.
It does.
One moment in time, they feel so good."
So this is when you were speaking earlier, Mary Forrester. That was such a message through that, is that you're not just doing something good for the people you're giving the coats to. You guys are sitting there welling up, feeling this amazing thing, and you're remembering back to your childhood and now how grateful you are to be able to be in a position to
Right.
give and to be helpful and do this for children that you didn't have done for you. That's a very powerful personal moment for you. And I think that is one of the most beautiful things out of service. And, I don't think it's necessarily spoken about because people don't want to say, yes, I'm getting something out of doing this when they're doing charity work or service, but the whole self is getting something out of doing charity work. And that's an important thing, that people can not feel bad about doing more charity work, because you're helping yourself and all these other people, and it's good for you. The better you feel, the more willing you're going to go help more people,
It's interesting you say that because, I'm a survivor of domestic violence and have been very vocal, because when that happened to me, I didn't know anyone that had touched. I really didn't even know anyone that was divorced, and I got divorced as a result right after,
Yeah.
very quickly. We never lived under the same roof again. And yes, and without
Good
the
for you.
support and help of
Yeah.
my family, I wouldn't have done that. Most likely, I don't know. But anyway, so I was never quiet about domestic violence,
Good.
or that I was a survivor, or that it happens to everyone or anyone. It doesn't matter, you know, economic background or ethnic background or any of that. It can happen to anyone, anywhere, anytime. And as a result, I had people reach out to me because they knew that I would understand. And that to
Right.
me, like, makes me, I want to cry right now.
Yeah.
It makes me
Yeah.
want to cry because, I was their light at the end of the tunnel. I understood what they were going through. And I think it's just really important. So if you have an experience or something like that, that you think, just telling your story once or putting it out there once or twice or 20 million times, but if it helps someone, it's so worth it.
I 1,000,000% agree
Wonderful.
with that, and I'm very proud of you.
Well, thank
Very
you.
proud of you for always being super outspoken
You
about
are.
it too, and not hiding behind it in shame. And it's speaks volumes about your strength of character.
You're giving a voice.
Yeah.
You're giving your voice, but then that allows other people to give their voice as well.
Yeah.
It does.
I think it's really important on many levels.
Many levels.
It's
Yes.
very inspiring to me. I have yet to do anything formal like this. I've done small, school-related charity things through my kids. I've done some personal life service work with, becoming a permanent guardian to somebody who needed
Right,
a
I was
home.
just gonna say
Yeah.
that. That's
Service,
talking-
Mary.
I was like,
Mary.
what area are you talking about?
Well, but it's not, it wasn't the same. Like, here's a charity, I'm going to go do an event. It's here's a charity, I'm going to go raise a child. But I don't look at her as a charity case.
No, of
So,
course not.
point being is, I have not done a formal thing like that. I feel I'm very service oriented in my life, and I try to do things for other people often. But there are certain charities or programs I really want to get into in the future. Some that do have to do with my own past, and those are, even sometimes just talking about it and getting started in it is it's scary. And so I haven't yet done those things, but I think that I'm getting, I'm surrounding myself with the right people and who are inspiring me to do certain things. And I think that, first of all, I would love to get involved with that, with CASA, the child advocacy in court systems for underrepresented children, kind of where my daughter was. We sort of swooped her up just before she got to that step of needing an advocate. But I'd love to advocate for children in at-risk situations. And then I would also very much love to do, something for children that have been molested and abused when they were young, or even, at any age. It's something that I would be able to relate to with them. And I think that there's something in there for me. And I'm looking for the right spot in this moment, actually, to do that. I think with my daughter, I'm getting that itch scratched because I'm helping her in that way. But that's the service that's been calling to me and sitting on my heart recently. So stay tuned, because I'm going to find something out there to
Right. I think, you've done the first phase of that and recognizing that. And I think that puts you on the path to what you're meant to be. And it's going to to be great. I can't wait to see it unfold.
Yeah, I can't. Yeah. And you're going to give me all the ideas.
I will. I will definitely help. You know that. In a heartbeat.
Yep.
I have a perspective on kind of where people are in life and their ability to kind of step out into the service world. And Mary Macaulay, maybe you can correct me, but I think while you're raising a young family, while you're getting your kids into college, you have a wide range of ages, Mary Elliott. And but Mary, you're an empty nester now, sort of an empty nester. I'm an empty nester. Does it ever happen?
I don't know.
Yes,
She's
it
a
does.
nest who does laundry.
No, they do their own laundry.
That's good.
One thing my mother, from the minute you could reach the washing machine, you did your own laundry, even growing up for me. So
Good
that
lesson.
was a good lesson.
Yeah.
But I do think that, when life takes over like it is for you, Mary Elliott, you're providing lunches, you're everything and everybody, right? And that you will find your time available to do that.
I think you're
And
right.
the right
I
people
agree.
will show up. The right people will show up too.
I agree with that. I think that, as a mother raising a family, and you're the one that holds it all together, and, all of that, making the lunches and doing that and getting them to practice, and your grade's this, and, okay, I have to meet with the teacher, and, you're an advocate for your children's education as
Absolutely.
they're going through the system.
Yeah.
And so, there may not be as much time at
You're
the
right.
moment.
You're right. I'm in
But-
service to my children right now.
Right. And when you look at these service organizations, I think they're largely middle-aged and older people.
What?
Right?
Who's middle-aged and older?
Nobody in this room.
We don't look it. We don't look it. I was told
No.
earlier I didn't look my age.
I would card you.
Uh-oh, I'm in trouble. So, with the exception of the people in this room, I think a lot of the service organizations, I see it in Rotary, of course, and
Yeah.
others as well, Optimist, and some of these BNIs. Well, I guess maybe BNIs. I don't know. They're service organizations, but
Towards the business community.
toward
of
the
a
business
certain
community,
town.
yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
I agree
exactly.
with that.
So
And-
I think there is a time. there's a
Yeah,
time.
and it's also when you get to a place in your life where you have something good to give, and you've learned the lessons along the way, and there's a certain level maturity I'm sure does play into that, not just the wealth you have, but your actual perspective and maturity on life and how you can give.
Well, and I was going to say, Mary Forster, your business is a referral-based business, and that is a service that's of service or service-minded or
Yeah, it's all
mindset,
service.
connecting people and
Right.
finding the right person to help out someone else, no matter what the need is. I think
That's
you
true.
take it beyond real estate. I'm sure, because I know your heart.
In every way. Yes. Connector. Yes.
Yes, my other nickname is Connector.
Connect the dots.
Yes, I was at ARP for many years, and we worked through a volunteer structure. And a lot of it was tax aid, it was driver safety programs, I was in the legislative side, so I led a lot of volunteers at the state level to work toward or against certain legislation, but it was all volunteer-based. And these are people who really put themselves before, testifying and or advocating with a Medicare or Medicaid expert. I mean, it was really on the line, but giving back, very much giving back.
Mm-hmm.
It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, and
love that.
But those people volunteered because they had those skills, right? Because they had gained those skills and they could share them with somebody else.
Oh, I've had many a superintendent of education say, Mary, I have to testify before so-and-so's committee. I've never done that before. I said, okay, well, we're going to go have a, quote, conversation with Senator so-and-so. And so, I mean, just kind of carrying them through the anxiety. I didn't have to do it. They
you were
didn't want to
good
hear
at
from
coaching
me in
them
New
through
Mexico.
it.
Yes.
That's so funny.
That's
Well, and I
funny.
think that comes, back. You can tie it to real estate and probably a lot of other professions, but that service. I mean, we're finding people their homes, their nest, where they live, where they grow their family and have their memories, and I think that's really important. I think that is one of the reasons why I love this job. And just to see, like, I recently had some clients get an offer accepted, and they were referred to me by a past client because they had been working with another agent, and they and that other agent decided to part ways, and they were just frustrated. And my past client said, "Oh, call my real estate agent. She will help you." And within a month, we're under contract.
Nicely
And
done.
it was one of the best moments, because we had put in one other offer, one or two, and they weren't accepted. So
Yeah.
we do the phone call. The husband and wife get on the phone. They're
Yeah.
first-time home buyers, and I was like, oh, well,
sorry.
and they're like, ugh. And I go, we got it, and they were like, ah,
Yay.
right? I mean, I wanted
You
to
do the
burst into
fake.
tears.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, it was because the fake was done to me. The list agent, who I know, he's in our office as well.
Oh, funny.
He was like, I have bad news. You're going to have to work with me. And I was like, oh. And then I was like, wait a minute. What did you say?
Wait, what?
Yeah, it took me a second. So I was like,
Yeah.
I'm going to do that.
That's fun.
I'm so sorry, guys. But no, that
Did they
was-
cry? Were they excited?
They were so excited.
Oh,
They
good.
were like stunned and
Yes.
excited and just couldn't even believe it.
Oh, I
And-
love that feeling.
And I don't know how you guys feel. I'm sure you feel the same. I would guess you would feel the same. Is that the right house seems to appear and work out
Always.
yeah, for the
Always.
right buyers
does.
or
Always.
Yep.
situation.
Yep.
So I really felt when I saw this house the first time I went without them, they were away. And I was like, oh, I think this is their
is
house.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, I really have a good feeling about this house for them. So it
Yeah.
was just really kind of funny that then they wanted to see it and they were like, I think this is our house.
Yeah.
I was like,
That's
yeah.
great. And that shows how well you attune to your clients and in just
Well,
that short amount of time.
It's because I
too.
get up all in their business.
That's
No.
right. But it's kind of
Invite
our job.
myself to Thanksgiving, right? I might be there for the birth of their baby.
Absolutely. That's
You know,
what we do.
My goodness.
There's no stopping us.
Nope.
I've mentioned that story to several people out of town and several other agents, and they said, "Oh, I saw that on the news."
No.
I said,
Oh, I
"Yes,
love it.
yes."
Oh,
Look
it's
at how
so
far we
great.
it was really
traveled.
cute.
I'm
Celebrity
everywhere.
status.
So for people who don't know, we're talking about Mary Elliott's first closing was in the front door of Lowell General Hospital.
Yep, because my client was in active labor, about to have her baby. They signed the papers, and 20 minutes later, there was the baby. And
so
here's,
exciting.
I just noticed a funny thing about this story. I went home and wrote a Facebook post once I was told that this had happened, and there was already a little news article when I posted that. So it wasn't immediately. This was before I knew what they were naming the baby, and I just said, well, the cat's out of the bag. The baby's name is Catherine.
And she's out of the bag.
She's out of the bag. I didn't mean to make that joke, but I did.
That's hysterical.
Yeah.
Shows how everything aligned.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
love that.
Anyway.
I love
Yes,
that.
they're doing very well. I just spoke to them the other day. They wrote me, oh my gosh, a fabulous review. I had to call and thank them
Thank
for
them
it.
for
Yeah,
that. I know.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's nothing like happy clients. That just definitely warms my heart.
It's so fun, and just knowing that they're so happy in their house, just like you said. As soon as I walked into that house for them, I could feel, and they could sort of feel through even just the FaceTime, that this was their house, and there were some bumps, but everything worked out perfectly. They had to jump through all the hoops in Tennessee to get their house sold within like 5 days to do this contract. And it all just worked. It worked.
Professionalism, service, coming from the heart.
That's
you
right.
know, it
It
all
all
Stars
puts
are
it
aligned.
together.
definitely, definitely. So, as part of our format, we have a quote that we pick, and I really couldn't pick one, so I'm breaking format on episode 3.
That's fine.
And I brought 3, so no, it's a magic number.
It's a Mary
for
Macaulay
those
thing.
Schoolhouse Rock people.
It is. It's one of my favorite songs.
So I don't know if you guys had the chance to read these over, or if you have one that speaks to you. But I figure we can talk about all 3. And Mary Forster, why don't you pick one and read it, and tell me why you know, tell all of us why it speaks to you.
Okay, but don't pick mine.
well,
Well,
you can fight it to the death. if you want.
So
Arm wrestle maybe.
So maybe you can just pick it again and have a
yeah,
different
different
perspective.
Have
really.
my own brain
How do you
about
like
it.
that?
Okay.
I like
Okay.
that.
All right.
So mine is to live our lives with an infinite mindset is to live a life of service. So what that says to me is I do not live alone. That I am not on this earth alone. I am part and parcel of a community, a world where we are interdependent. And to the ability that I have to be of service to others, that's, I hope to achieve that ability. And this is a hard one for some people, to ask for help
Yeah.
is also a responsibility
I'm in
I
that
have.
camp a lot
Yeah.
of the time.
Yeah.
I have a hard time
I have a hard time
help.
asking, yes. Yes, I was listening to that this morning to somebody else saying they just couldn't ask for help.
There's something I want to say on that. And it's been brought up a lot in our morning calls is asking for help not only gets you the help you need, but it's helping the person you're asking it from.
It's true.
Because that person may be feeling the same exact thing, like, oh my gosh, I'm incompetent, I don't know what I'm doing, I don't have the answers. And then along comes you, and turns out you do have that answer, and I can help that person. And so you've built them up as a person,
And they've built you
and
up.
they've been able to assist you. And since I've started looking at things like that, the asking for help portion doesn't. I'm reframing it in my mind. It's like asking for partnership or something like that. You know, it's not, will you do this thing for me that has zero benefit for you? I just want you to come over here and, I don't know, shine my shoes. It's different, but you really do give something to people. When people ask me to do something, it's a huge compliment. I am so complimented and honored that they would think
Yep,
to ask
that's how I
that,
feel
you know,
too.
to ask me to do it. So if we feel that way when we're asked, we should be
Right.
confident in
But
asking.
it's funny when you're talking about what you're asking help for. I mean, when I, have my car loaded with groceries and I tell my kids, come out and help,
Yeah.
bring it in, I don't
Yeah.
have any problem asking for help with
Right,
that.
right. Obviously,
Like,
yes.
hello, can you help clean up the dishes?
And do it a little bit
Empty the
faster.
dishwasher,
Yes.
go to the grocery store for me. But even that took some time. I'm not, so.
But doesn't the difficult part come in asking for things that you don't know how to do? You know how to put away the groceries and do the dishes.
That's an interesting perspective. Yeah, I'm not sure I really gave it any deep thought
Yeah.
about that.
Well,
Just
that's what
kinda-
we're here for.
kind of a winging it.
Yeah.
So,
I think as I've heard somebody say, it's somewhat about ego. If I am saying to you, I don't know how to do this. I'd love your help with it. It's quite a concession to make.
It
you know?
is. It is.
And the joy of the profession we're in is that there's always so much you don't know what to do.
Mary Forster saying I have a big ego,
No. It
which is totally not true. No,
It is.
any of that was not true.
It's a
Make me
self-consciousness
cough
thing.
now.
I'm sorry.
No, that isn't what I intended. That isn't what I intended. But we think that we're supposed to know, and
Right.
we,
Well,
we
I think
aren't.
it's life, experience. I when I got divorced, my youngest was 3. They were 3, 4, and 5, and so I was a single mother with no family around in a new town, and did it all. had to.
Yeah.
Didn't know anyone to ask for help, really.
Yeah.
I have this one story. My car, the kids were with their dad for the weekend, and I had lived in Westford maybe 2 weeks. And my parents lived in South Carolina at the time, and I went to the bank, and my van wouldn't start. My car had broken down. I didn't know where to take it. I didn't know what to do. I called my father, and he was like, listen to me, let me cry, woe was me. And then was like, I can't do anything about it
Oh.
from here, but what I think you should do is call AAA.
Yep.
You know?
Yep.
And I was like, okay, I've got a plan. Like,
Yep.
you know?
Yep.
So I was good after that. So I can ask for help.
You can, and you did.
And I did.
Yeah.
But it's just so funny because, you know, I'm used to figuring out myself because I had
Yeah.
to. So
Yeah.
I don't even think of it as not asking for help in that way. But I'm going to be a little more aware of that because, I mean, if I don't know something, I do ask for help.
Yeah.
How do, you know, Ashley, something tech in
Yeah.
our office. How do you do this?
Exactly,
You know,
yeah.
I'm okay with that.
Yep.
Or people's opinion on, you know, negotiating a deal or something and saying, you know, what do you think? I need help with this.
I think also we pride ourselves on being problem solvers too. And so there's a fine line between being able to solve all the problems and then, oops, I can't solve this one. I need somebody's help. And flipping to, I admit I need somebody's help on this instead of I can solve all the problems.
And that comes back to what you were saying. It's not easy to admit that you can't figure
Right.
it out or do it yourself
Yeah.
or a multitude of things that, you know,
Yeah.
truly are ego
Right.
related.
Exactly.
No. Or you know, it's
something.
self-esteem and
Right.
all sorts of, there's
Other
so
things.
much,
Yes.
you know, I
So
think
much to
people
learn.
called
Yes.
psychologists have degrees to figure out what that's all about.
Right. Right. So Mary Elliott,
So,
did Mary Forrester pick your
no, she didn't
quote?
actually.
Interesting. And Mary Forrester's quote was from Simon Sinek, who's a writer and the author of Start With Why, which we read in our business world.
Yes, yes. So I chose the one you picked that says, we like to think of our champions, sorry, my eyes are a little off right now. We like to think of our champions and idols as superheroes who were born different from us. We don't like to think of them as relatively ordinary people who made themselves extraordinary. And that's Carol Dweck. And this is, I think, perfect for what you were talking about earlier. This is why I picked it, because you're not you weren't born a superhero in your mind. You, as far as you know, you don't have any, you know, Wonder Woman cuffs in the closet or
Well, I
flying
might.
ability. But you're an ordinary person who's risen themselves to the level of extraordinary through helping these other people, and it's very hard to see yourself in that light when a superhero is like what you're saying, a serviceman or you know, a firefighter or somebody that like runs into danger to protect other people. But there are superheroes in so many other forms with their invisible capes everywhere, and they're ordinary people just like us.
Exactly.
What do you think about that one, Mary?
I think that's really true. And I like the idea that we do grow. We do grow from our ordinary kind of background. We grow through sometimes the hardships that we experience
Right.
and the challenges that we experience, and that makes us a much stronger and able person, able to help others, able to lead the way, as you were talking about with people related to domestic violence.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, I agree.
That's huge.
I agree with that.
Okay, I'm going to read the other quote, which
Okay.
was kind of, well, I like them all because I brought them in today. But this is service is the rent we pay for being. It's the very purpose of life, and not something you do in your spare time. And this is I can't even read this. Marian Wright Edelman, and she is the founder of the Children's Defense Fund. She's an activist for children's rights.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
you know, I like that. I mean, not that, well, it was interesting to think about, you know, it's not something you do in your spare time, it's who we are. And you think about, you know, service in this way, which is, you know, service is saying thank you or tipping extra, you know,
Yep.
for someone who did a good job or helping someone that asked for it or volunteering your time
That's
or
right.
adopting,
Mm-hmm.
you know, someone who needed it
Yep.
or a multitude of other things, you know, putting people together that because I've got the perfect person that can help you with whatever that is. So I think that service isn't something we do in our spare time because we do it all the time.
Yeah.
Without realizing
As it says, it is the very purpose of life. And anthropologically speaking, that's why we're groups. We've been in groups since we could be in groups and walk towards each other on our 2 feet, and that's because that group is there to service all the members of it in various ways. The big hulking guy is there to crush rocks and, go kill the bison, and the smaller, lighter people are to climb up the cliff, and all of that is service to each other within a group,
Yeah,
What I love
common
about
goal.
Marian Wright Edelman is she was unstoppable for children's rights. She was a force in Washington, D.C. I saw her many times, and
how extraordinary.
and she was. These are vulnerable. These are the vulnerable members of this pack, and it is our right. It's our responsibility
Absolutely.
to protect them.
Yeah.
Right, and it was funny that you didn't pick that one. Speaking about that, you wanted to get involved in something that's
It's true.
certainly aligned there, which
Yeah.
is interesting.
You're right. I could have.
No, you could have. I mean, I like that. Well, like I said, I picked all 3
They're all
because
good.
they spoke
No,
to
they're
me
great.
in some way
Yeah.
about service, but kind of from a different angle or thought
Yeah.
process. Like I said, when I started trying to look at, coming from a place of service, it was, more a mindset,
Yeah.
and I hadn't
Well,
really considered
And
that.
that one, sorry, that was my timer that just went off. Sorry about that. That
Very important. Mary's taking calls.
no, I'm not taking calls. Sorry, I thought I was timing us, but I set it on a timer.
Oh, good,
so,
okay.
Yeah.
Well, maybe that was just the cue we needed.
Well, no, I picked this one because I heard you in it, but also I think I hear me in it as well. Same thing, like I didn't feel like I was being a superhero when I drove out to Pennsylvania to go find my now daughter who had essentially been abandoned there. But she did, in her memory. It's like we swooped in with our capes in, and thank God we
You
did.
I agree with
Yeah,
her.
and then I did. There's another thing I did. A friend of mine lived in a low-income housing complex in Groton that burned down 2 summers ago now, and I just jumped into like doing a GoFundMe and collecting food and household, and people were just dropping boxes of stuff at my house. And again, I was just doing it as an ordinary person. I was just, this is my friend who went through a thing. I'm no superhero, but I can do these things. I connect. And afterwards, she was very, very grateful and made me feel like a superhero for doing something for her. And it goes from, I think the ordinary people doing the great things are the superheroes at all times.
Well, it's funny. This one spoke to me in sort of a different way. I mean, in that same way, but also it made me think about the people that we do idolize, like sports figures or reality TV or something like that. And why is that? And how did they get where they are? Or what was their drive? How is it different from me? And, it sort of made me think that you can be anything that you want to be.
Yeah.
That they were just born, a baby like all of us,
Yep.
and then took it from there.
Yeah.
From whether
Yep.
it was their life experiences or paths or the opportunities they made for themselves or recognized. And there are so many factors, but
Their particular drive.
they are in the end just people.
Yeah.
Right?
We all are. We all are.
Rising to the occasion.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that, Mary Forrester.
That's right.
Let's rise to the occasion.
Rise to the occasion.
Well, on
guys.
that note, I think we could wrap up
Yeah.
episode 3.
Yeah.
And thank you everyone for listening as always.
I loved it. Did anybody have any amazing things go on this week in work life?
There's so much going on. I am now the proud owner of 75 pumpkins that we're getting ready to wash
Mary's
and
very own
dress.
pumpkin patch.
Yes. And boy, I'll have to tell you about pumpkins. This year, the rain really wrecked the harvest. Really,
it
quality's
wrecked
not
it.
great yet.
Oh.
So any good pumpkins that you're seeing are probably imported from
Which
our
are, of course,
westerly
not
area.
stuck on a barge outside of I don't know where
That's
for
right.
Yeah.
whatever's going on in in the
So they're
current.
gratitude pumpkins for our clients, and we write,
Oh,
a special
I love
thing
that.
to make gratitude.
Very
I love that.
cute.
What about you, Mary?
I just submitted an offer this morning, and I'm waiting on that. And then I'm leaving here and going to a showing with some new clients that just got their big old pre-approval. So we're gonna
Yay.
go.
Go shopping.
shopping.
Go shopping.
with
Yeah.
Charlotte. I
Yep.
love it. I love it. My daughter is actually coming home from college. So it's the first time
Yay.
I've seen her since I dropped her off. So I'm picking her up at the airport tonight. And
Nice.
she's staying
Oh,
for
that's
the
awesome.
long weekend. And I can't wait to get my arms around my baby.
I bet. Oh, I should also mention it is my son's 19th birthday today.
Wow.
Griffin.
Happy birthday,
and,
Griffin.
And we haven't actually said yet on the podcast, but he is our intro song singer. So happy birthday to our
Yes.
Happy birthday
musician,
to our
Happy birthday,
musician.
Griffin.
to our resident musician on
All
the
right.
podcast. Yeah.
On that note, thank you everyone for tuning in.
Thank
Yeah.
you, Mary.
Thank you,
And
Mary.
Thank you, Mary.
Thank you, Mary. Bye.
Cut. Right.
Mary, Mary.